Today is not a good day to push me, Victor.
Stop! Now hold on. Hold on a bloody minute! You can't do this!
I can control your pacemaker remotely. You want to see what 250 beats per minute feels like?
Batman is not the way. He is not the one and only solution to all of Gotham's problems. That is the overall message we are given throughout the 4 Arkham games. From Arkham Origins, where we see a young, angry Bruce still getting the hang of being Batman, after only a year or two of going at it, all the way to being a much more seasoned detective and crime fighter in the Arkham Knight. After what's believed to be a decade since first donning on the cape and cowl, Batman's operations has expanded beyond just him and Alfred. During this time, he's enlisted the help of Robin, Nightwing, Oracle, and established a friendship and working partnership with Gotham PD through Jim Gordon. I do want to take this time to say I was going to include Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League in this video, but due to the Batman that dies in that game potentially being a clone, and thus leaving the whole whereabouts of what's going on with Batman in this game unknown for the time being, for simplicity's sake I just opted to leave the game out altogether, because there's some things surrounding him that are to be determined, and who knows how the lore or overall story to Batman of this universe is going to be expanded upon, if at all. So I just wanted to make that clear, because otherwise it may seem a little odd for me to talk about all the other games, including Origins, the original black sheep of the bunch, and then conveniently omit the new black sheep. So with that out of the way, recently I decided to sit down and run through every one of the Arkham games back to back. While doing so, I couldn't help but notice the many different themes at play here. I mean, honestly, you can sit down and make over an hour-long video on the symbiotic relationship between Batman and the Joker across all 4 games, if you really wanted to. At the heart of every one of these games lies the immediate question: what does Batman stand for?
Something's changed. You're different.
Arkham Origins begins on the night of Christmas Eve. Bruce descends to the Batcave with the Batcomputer on, giving us all the information we need. Batman is a myth. The bachelor Bruce Wayne is alone and seemingly holds no interest in talking about himself. The attention is quickly switched to the police commissioner being held as captive in Blackgate Prison while Alfred brings Bruce's dinner, only for the camera to then cut over to Bruce in full uniform and just leave without saying a word, all while Alfred is trailing behind, telling him it's Christmas Eve. It's an introduction that doesn't have the same level of intrigue as Asylum. The holy shit, Batman's been discovered and is stuck behind enemy lines by himself, like Arkham City's introduction, or the disbelief that Joker really is dead. And what kind of power vacuum is Gotham going to descend into, like Arkham Knight's introduction? No, this is a different Batman. One who's still coming to grips with his own anger. One that has taken his personal isolation as Bruce Wayne and combined it with the protection of Batman's true identity to the extent he would rather work alone and not allow anyone to get in his way. And that includes the man that stepped in and raised him when his parents were taken from him. Origins, I don't think, can be praised enough for the attention Alfred and Bruce's relationship is given, both in cutscenes and in game. You can really hear the sadness, and at times almost desperation, from Alfred to try to get through to Bruce.
Don't want this to be your end.
It's midnight, sir. I just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas.
You too.
But it always just falls on deaf ears. Alfred's just one aspect how Bruce, and by extension Batman, cuts everyone out though. Alfred suffers deaf ears, a cold shoulder, and a small lash out, which is the best monologue Batman has in any of these games.
While you are here every night, I am out there. The only thing between the innocent and the predatory. No, not maybe. I am. When the mugger or the thief stops to think twice, that is fear. That is what I am. That is why they hired assassins, because I am the reason the criminals breathe easier when the sun rises. So no, Alfred, I am not in over my head. Tonight will not be my end, but it will be theirs.
But being ignored is nothing compared to the broken bones and sheer ferocity he displays towards his enemies. Batman is an aggressive fighter in all the games, to say the least, but here, his methods of pure black and white, with that anger and rage pent up within him, puts him on an entirely different level. Everyone in his eyes is guilty of something, some form of corruption, and it's his job to execute their punishment. That includes low-level henchmen.
Time to talk. Where's Cobblepot?
Let me go!
If
If you insist.
High-profile villains.
You're running out of time.
And even police officers.
Supposed to be guarded.
Must you be so brutal, sir? These are city employees.
They're as corrupt as they come, and they're in my way.
And they're all dealt with such unrelenting anger. He straight up chokes a guy to the point of him becoming unconscious, only for him to then come to while being dangled upside down from a rooftop, followed by being dropped from said rooftop. Penguin is thrown across the room and savagely punched while being questioned, which may not seem that big of a deal, but when you look at Bruce's face and how he domineers over Penguin, compounded by the rage you can hear deep within, it's hard to wonder if this was really for information, or was he just looking for another reason to explode on him more. Black Mask's life is also put on the line when he hacks his pacemaker and starts to mess with how rapidly his heart begins to beat. There are absolutely zero fucks given. As Alfred said, he's a young man with a trust fund and too much anger. Anger he doesn't want to see or come to grips with. This to me is the Batman that brings the argument of him being almost no different than the criminals he hunts down to the forefront. That moral dilemma, that code of his, is a few punches away, a slightly tighter choke, or a small miscalculation from being broken. It takes Bane to learn his identity and attack the Batcave, destroying it, leaving Alfred in critical condition. Bane then also mocks him, saying he left enough life in Alfred just long enough to say a last few words to Bruce if he hurries, adding he's being generous by giving him some time to mourn. Then once that grief turns into anger, he's ready to face Bane. Bane's plan doesn't exactly work as intended. Alfred is saved thanks to Bruce using his defibrillator gloves, but his will is broken. He's lost his will to continue. If he can't protect his home, his loved ones, his identity, the things he values and guards the strongest, then what good is he? What good is all the rage of being alone and pushing everyone out? By isolating yourself, you don't become stronger. These people aren't in your way. It's a wrong perception. He descends deeper into this pit of despair. The emotions of pain, anger, and complete suffering begins to control him. It was a control they had over him during the entirety of the game. It was a control that would have resulted in a death. Considering Joker and Bane had come up with a plan that would have forced Batman to kill or be killed, Joker strapped himself into an electric chair that is slowly being charged with every beat of Bane's heart. If Bane lives too long, Joker gets electrocuted to death. If Bane's heart stops, he'll die. If Batman does nothing, Batman dies. If it wasn't for the vulnerability he had experienced because of what happened to Alfred, who knows what would have happened. This entire time, he believed he could do it all on his own. Everyone was in his way. He can't and won't trust anybody. He's shown that is not true. They're not in his way. He needs these people of Gotham. It's their city after all. A man's true strength comes not from just brains and bronze, but allies. The last fight of this game has him take down enemies fighting back to back with Gordon, a direct contrast to his mentality at the start of the game. Jim may still want to bring him in as he is still a wanted vigilante, but Bruce says nothing, and he just vanishes. Also a direct contrast as the last time they spoke face to face, there was some jabs.
You didn't listen.
Not big on taking orders from wanted men.
I'm not big on taking orders from cops.
But his last words to Gordon was Gotham deserves better than just watching the city's criminals die. Origins displays the isolation and anger of Bruce come to the surface, pain that's never been given time to heal. It transitions into acceptance, and he can't be symbol of the hope that Gotham needs if he continues to go down this path. He needs to allow people to help, even if just a little. He needs to accept that he's not Batman all the time. He's still Bruce, and he's still vulnerable. Fast forward some years later to Arkham Asylum, Bruce is quite different. He's cold, calculated, older, and much more experienced. He is much more in control of his emotions and has a better understanding of all the criminals he's dealing with. He's also come to establish a partnership with Gotham PD through Jim Gordon and various other police officers, not to mention he's receiving help from Oracle. The story of Asylum focuses less on his emotional state in contrast to Arkham Origins. Rather, the attention is on his prowess, both physically and mentally, as well as his connection to the Joker. Compared to all the other games, I think this one is truly where Batman is the calmest and most collected. Yes, the Asylum has been taken over by the Joker, with various enemies immediately demanding Batman's attention from time to time, from Killer Croc, Bane, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Scarecrow, but there is no intense interrogations as he was doing in Origins or as he will later repeat in the Arkham Knight. There's no brutality tied to a sense of urgency as the other games in general have. Yes, Joker is planning something big, and there is a sense of some kind of urgency. It's just not as significant as having his life on the line. With that said, that doesn't mean there isn't substance here. I really think there's two ways to look at it. On the one hand, in the end, Batman does win and does retake control over Arkham Asylum, but there are some failures along the way. Joker was successful in getting gallons worth of the Titan formula. He killed a guard in front of Batman's own eyes.
You need to stop this now, before it goes too far.
Stop? But everyone's dying to see what I do next.
Let him go now.
Really? Okay, if you say so, Bat. Whoopsie!
No!
You really need to speed things up, Bats.
He then kills Dr. Young, and lastly, he was successful in infecting himself and Batman with Titan. Counting the casualties witnessed right in front of him, we do see quite a bit of death. On the other hand, being subjected to Scarecrow's fear toxin, we explore Bruce's deepest fears. The overwhelming fear of failure. The sadness and tragedy of his parents' death is also relived. While it may not be as big of a plot point or as quick to call back to his origins, part of City, and later Knight, there's still some mental and physical stress he's put under all by himself. Rocksteady explained they wanted this game to feel like Batman was in a pressure cooker, and Joker was the one able to turn up the heat as he so pleased. With the various villains stealing his attention from time to time, you can feel that very thing. Yet interestingly enough, compared to the other games, it's not as ambitious. It's understandable as it was the first Batman game in the series, but it's also the calm before the storm. Even in the moments where it feels like he's not supposed to be in control, he still feels in control. There's no better way to explain it other than just being dead set, focused. He's still silent. There's a blankness there, a lack of personal investment, just a firm understanding that these criminals need to be taken down, without any emotion clouding his judgment. This blankness and clarity of mind continues into Arkham City.
Arkham City, and make Gotham safe again. Remember, Wayne is the priority target. Surround him!
Hands in the air, Wayne. We have Wayne.
Target secured.
Bruce makes a decision to be willingly captured by Tiger Forces, a private security company hired by Hugo Strange to ensure the residents of Arkham City are kept within the walls they're locked inside of. Arkham City itself is essentially a giant prison. What's described as the worst of Gotham's criminals live here, along with anyone that Hugo Strange has a personal or political vendetta with. One such person being Bruce Wayne, who he knows is Batman. From the onset, stakes are pretty high. Strange knows his identity, and there is something referred to as Protocol 10. With rumors of what exactly Protocol 10 is surrounding the idea, it's got something to do with the partnership between Joker and Strange. Since anything involving Joker usually involves lives at stake, Batman tracks him down, but gets caught in the process, knocked unconscious, and is subjected to a blood transfusion. Joker's dying.
Take my blood, for example. I wish somebody would. This stuff is killing me.
Why should I care?
Because now, there's a teeny little bit of me in you too, Bats. Oh, come on.
His blood is slowly killing him, and in a last-ditch effort to acquire a cure for himself, he hopes with Batman's life on the line, afflicted with the same illness, as well as countless of thousands, as he ships samples of his infected blood to hospitals around the city, Batman will be the one to save him and everyone else. As the game progresses, due to Batman's failing health, the mystery of what exactly Protocol 10 is, and who exactly is working with Hugo Strange behind the scenes, as there's no way he could have been acting alone in all of this, Batman begins to exhibit the same levels of aggression as before. He has little patience for Victor Freeze, who was working on a cure for Joker until he was kidnapped by Penguin. Batman, now having a personal investment in said cure, cuts out all the negotiations with Freeze and just outright rips the cooling liquid canister out of his chest, which was keeping him alive. He also starts to be more short towards his allies, such as Robin. He and Joker know their time is rapidly running out, something that's reminded to him by Oracle, who can monitor his vitals, Talia al Ghul, who sees his face after his sickness has hit an advanced stage.
A better world. Your face! What happened?
And let's not forget the moment when his vitals plummet so low, he hallucinates his parents beckoning him to join them in the afterlife.
Bruce, you can hear me, can't you? You need to step into the light. Your father and I are waiting. We missed you so much. You have to do it. We need you to do it, Bruce.
Bruce! Bruce! Can you hear me? Your vitals, they're dropping. It's like they're in free fall. You need to find whatever you're looking for now.
There's a literal clock his life is counting down to, with so much more at stake. If by pure necessity you're just not realizing it, his older methods and mentality slowly begin to creep back in. And when he does stabilize momentarily, thanks to the healing effects of the Lazarus Pit, that doesn't cure him of the slow decline his mind is still suffering from. All of this comes to a head when Protocol 10 is activated and countless of people die. Protocol 10 this whole time had nothing to do with the Joker. It was Strange's plan to kill everyone inside of Arkham City via Tiger helicopters raining down missiles and gunfire on anyone they can get within their sights. This happens right when Joker strikes a deal with Talia al Ghul, splitting Batman's personal interest even further. Go after Hugo Strange and deactivate Protocol 10, saving everyone inside of Arkham City, or go after his love interest Talia al Ghul and save her from Joker. It's another angle of Bruce that's not really seen again in any of the Arkham games. A love interest and personal investment so strong, Alfred had to intervene, refusing to align the Wayne Towers to make it easier for Batman to track Talia down, and instead go after the more immediate and terrifying threat, Strange and all the lives he was ending. This game flat out has a depressing conclusion. Joker dies, Talia dies, Ra's al Ghul and Hugo Strange die, not to mention the hundreds if not thousands killed at the hands of Strange. Arkham City's in ruins, and Batman isn't completely out of the woods from the repercussions he must deal with from Joker's poisoned blood, an affliction that'll continue into the Arkham Knight. Arkham City shows us a blend of the two. Batman can be rather cold and seemingly indifferent, but that's not always the case. He's still a human. Just like the rest of us, there are some things he prioritizes and people he prioritizes over others. Unlike the rest of us though, he cannot be allowed to give such favor to someone if it comes at the cost of others. While there are some mental elements to this game, it's more physical in what people are able to observe from the outside, where Arkham City takes its place in Deconstructing Batman. He was somewhat cured and he did save Arkham City, these are true. Although partial victories, Arkham City wasn't completely destroyed and his sickness will come back in a different form. So was it really a victory? Joker and Talia, the two he arguably set out to save most, both ended up being killed in the end, only for the Joker to come back as Batman's greatest obstacle. Batman's fight during the entire story of the Arkham Knight is one that puts his mind and body to the ultimate test, ramping up the concept of Arkham City to encompass all of Gotham now and not just a small portion of it. The city is Scarecrow's to rule with an iron fist. The streets are now vacant of any civilians thanks to a small demonstration of his latest, purest form of fear toxin, leaving everyone left in the city prepared to carve their own sphere of influence or fight the criminals that now rule the streets unrivaled. There is no black and white, you're on one side or the other of the law. Gotham slowly begins to be filled by a small private militia trained and led by a mysterious figure who calls himself the Arkham Knight, an enemy who not only has a severe vendetta against Batman, but he knows everything about him. From the details in his armor, his tactics and fighting style, to his biggest fears and closest friends. Every single time Batman makes progress towards apprehending Scarecrow, the Arkham Knight makes his presence known. He's the protector of Scarecrow, but he isn't the only one demanding Batman's attention. Gotham's very soul is at stake here, with Batman fighting for it by himself against Scarecrow and the Arkham Knight, Penguin who's running gun operations quietly preparing to take over when all the other villains have worn each other out, Two-Face who's hitting all of Gotham's banks, Professor Pig, who's murdering people and stringing them up all around the city, Firefly, who's burning down all the city's fire departments, and that's just scratching the surface. That is not every single villain. Gotham screams out in pain as all these villains run rampant, wreaking havoc anywhere they go, but Bruce can't hear any of it. He's busy fighting the devil on his shoulder.
Can you hear me, Bruce?
Batman is becoming Joker. A side effect of Joker's blood within him from Arkham City caused a mutation, which is transforming those affected by it into Joker. To go a step further, when Batman became exposed to Scarecrow's latest fear toxin, it sort of resurrected him in Batman's mind. Joker is his greatest fear, The fear of becoming unstoppable, of becoming pure evil and being invincible, as no one will be able to stop him. He places Robin at the forefront of securing some type of antidote, some type of cure. To be absolutely sure their biggest fear isn't realized, Batman succumbing to his illness and becoming the Joker. It's an interesting enough plot. He has allies, but between the Arkham Knight and Scarecrow completely demolishing any amount of peace of mind he may have had, thinking they were safe. I mean, Barbara was straight out kidnapped from the clock tower, and later, under the effects of Scarecrow's fear toxin, Bruce was led to believe that Barbara was dead. Later into the game, Jim was also captured by the Arkham Knight and Scarecrow, so there was no security or guarantee of anyone's safety behind the front lines. Those that were associated with him in any way were all targets, which made Batman become even more protective over Alfred and Lucius, who was in fact a target himself, albeit from Thomas Elliot, otherwise known as Hush. And then you have the ones that are capable of fighting, such as Robin and Nightwing, but they're tied up with other things, like searching for a cure and getting a hold of Penguin's weapons trade that has been flooding into Bloodhaven. As threats continue to mount and Batman experiences more and more microdoses to Scarecrow's fear toxin, not only does his old brutality return, but there is an added layer here. The more he gives into the toxin, the more he gives into the rage, the stronger Joker gets within his own mind. From beyond the grave, he's taunting him the entire time to break his rule and take a life. Why continue to suffer all this stress, all this anger, putting yourself through so much more work than is needed? You know, it's your fault Barbara's dead. It's your fault Jim was captured. You're lying to Robin. Just give in. Let the Joker take the driver's seat. There'd be no more worries. And you know what? Sometimes he does. There are quick glimpses displaying a side of him even Scarecrow has never seen.
Something's changed. You're different. I prefer to call it a work in progress, but it does show potential.
It's so much more than just the raw, pent-up rage within Bruce that was on full display in Origins. Rage that was justified and satisfied to him because he was unleashing it on the scum of the earth. In the Arkham Knight, we steadily return to him being one punch, a choke slightly too tight, or one move of utter brutality away from literally losing his mind. It's not just a moral code dilemma here anymore. It's the battle over his very psyche. And it's something that is constantly pushed to the wayside. He says Scarecrow's the priority. He'll lock himself away until Robin is done with the cure, only what Scarecrow's put away. And by doing so, he's still running an act of risk by going out there and playing with the danger of being exposed further to the fear toxin, or suffering just a small enough of an outburst of anger. It's over. His sanity is on the line. And it's not until the very end when he has to come to face this unseen force. Yes, he does defeat Joker in his mind and apprehend Scarecrow. Arkham Knight seemingly switches sides, disappears, and Gotham slowly returns back to normal, with all the other smaller villains and criminals being mopped up over time. But that doesn't change the fact Arkham Knight, just like Arkham City, still has a bitter ending. The world knows who he is now. The course of the entire night, he's been shot multiple times, beaten, drugged, and suffering hallucinations that have only been getting stronger, for it all to end with him faking his death, destroying his family's legacy and fading into oblivion. The games may have their own individual problems in writing, shortcomings, and stronger desires from fans of the series, but I still do think this was a great finale. It's the culmination of the story of not just Batman, the myth, the legend, the symbol, but also of Bruce Wayne, the orphan child that grew up promising no child will ever experience the pain and suffering he did. A promise he made to himself that made him bitter, angry, and isolated. He's vulnerable, he's strong, but he's strongest with his allies. He may be a hero, but he isn't the sole answer.